Hello, my name is Peter Pilgrim. I am the founder and presenter of the Java Web Users Group in the UK. This presentation, presented by Emmanuel Okyere, is about the Rife framework. This presentation took place on Friday, the 3rd of March 2006. It was kindly hosted at Oracle, City of London offices, and was hosted by Duncan Mills and myself. And you can reach me at www.javawug.com or just look on the internet for my blog. Feel free to send in any opinions and make any suggestions. There was one thing that was problematic with Emmanuel's presentation. He was using the Microsoft PowerPoint format, whereas I created a template using OpenOffice 2. So the two things didn't quite go together, and you may find some of the presentation slides a bit color blind. Some of the wrong colors have been used. But I hope that this doesn't spoil your enjoyment of the video. Please enjoy. Thank you.
Stress is good. Yeah. Right? Stress is good. Good evening, everyone. My name is Emmanuel Okyere, and I'll be doing a presentation on a framework called Rife. It's a Java web application framework that allows you to quickly create web applications. Did I just repeat myself? I am not actually a Java developer. I've been doing web applications with Macromedia Flash, and I've been tying that in with Java backends. And so about 6 months ago, I decided to look into Java web applications and then see what's out there. And I came across JBoss scene. But I went into it for a few days, and it felt too heavy for me. And then they were experimenting with Java server faces, and so I realized I had to go through so many things just to use scene. And then at the same time, I saw a post on the server side on Rife, and they were comparing it to Ruby on Rails, and so and the hype was around then. But I wasn't ready to go learning Rails just to write web applications very fast. And so I wanted to tap in on what I know in Java already, see if there's something out there that was simple enough to use. So I'll be trying to introduce you to the Rife framework, and then to show you how really simple it is, to show you that it comes packaged with almost everything you need to write web applications right away. You can choose and select what functionalities you want, merge them and write very powerful things with very, very simple, simple Java coding techniques and things you know already in Java. So what is Rife? It's a full stack web application framework. It comes standard packaged in one jar, very small file. You can just download it, drop it in your class path, and then start developing right away. Out of the box, it comes with what is called a jump start, which is a web application that is ready to run. You just have to compile it and start the web server, and then there you go. It's simple to use. It has support for most of the major IDEs. It has templating support for IDEA, for Eclipse, for NetBeans, most of the other ones out there. I have lots of things in here, but this will show them now. But yeah, so Rife has bi-directional, multi-format templating engine. It has a code life scheduler. It has a central application lifecycle management. It has database, query builders, almost everything you need to write applications right away. The thing with Rife is it allows you to sort of design your application thinking of component-based platform, a component-based application platform, so to speak. And at the same time, it allows you to control the way you move from page to page. It allows you to control the flow of the application in a very simple configuration file, very simple XML files. Okay, so you're thinking about component-based applications, but then you're also drawing on what you know from the old send request type applications that have been out there, and then combining these two together in very simple terms to create powerful web applications. Now, I was going to go through a simple Rife application. It was a number guess game that allows you to move within 2 screens. Okay, and these were the flows that we would have seen with this application. You know, because of time, we'll probably not be able to see this, but we'll still be able to see some of the simplicities that Rife introduces to web application development. In this application, you would actually have had 2 screens. You would have a start screen, and then you have the success message screen. Okay, and then you would have sort of the application's business logic embedded in a Java file that you would send inputs to, and then do processing in, and then send regular outputs to. So you should sort of look at this as 2 screens being put together with one main Java application file.
That didn't come out very well.
Yeah, that didn't come out well as well. But this was basically to show what Jumpstart looks like when you unpackage it. It's just a bunch of folders already configured to go. And the way Rife is built, you have total control over how you lay out these folders, how you lay out your files. It's all in one simple XML file, and you can control. You can move these around as you go along to fit your development environment. I have changed most of these to fit with some of the things I already do. And so these are not static folders that keep you restricted. You can move around them. That did not come out well as well. But basically, when you're building Rife applications, you have a template engine, a very simple template engine. You have the page flow configuration files, and then you have your Java source code. And what this is here is the page flow configuration files, or what we refer to in the Rife community as the repository files. What you basically do here is lay out the page flow of your web application. So in this site structure, just as we had in the image before, we're going to create an element for the guest application. That was the central logic of the application. And it was going to have flow links to the start page and then the success page. And so this simple XML we have here actually goes on to describe the overall logic of the application that we're going to develop. You have 2 pages which are flow links, and then you have an element which is actually something you will have to implement in Java code. And then all that is brought together in the Rife configuration for you. We'll get to that.
Is that sort of like a navigation that maps the navigation?
This maps the navigation, the page flow for you. So with this, what we have here is a basic Java logic file here, and then we're saying that there will be flow links in the application, and one of those flow links starts from what we're going to create here as a start element. It's over here. It's an exit actually. You create elements and then exits, and so you say that you move from that element to that exit, or from you create your own flows based on whatever elements, whatever implementations you've got, and then how you want your site structure to go. Okay, so yes, like you're saying, sort of a navigation for you. This did not come out as well. I think I would just switch on to the Java code here, because it's basically the same thing. And then, yeah, we'll be able to see much better. We'll be getting into change to okay, this is much better.
Yeah, I have to apologise. This is my screen. I've got it at a very low resolution, so Eclipse doesn't quite fit into that.
Yeah.
Squashed it.
Then you mean
Does it show?
big fonts? When too small?
No, carry on. So, I haven't used the fonts because the laptop's got a screen, so it's comfortable.
So this is basically what the Jumpstart folder looks like when you download it and unpackage it out of the box. This is how it looks like. He actually just SVN'd this down from the 7. So this is how the current code looks like. And you have in the source folder, you can see you have implementations and your regular Java code, I guess. I changed all these around and put them in one source folder, and then do link to those classes in the configuration file. And then it comes standard with Jetty. You can run this on Tomcat. I've run it on Tomcat runs. It comes with Jetty. And basically that's it. And your elements and then your site repository configuration files are also embedded for you. Now when you download Jumpstart and then you run it, as I'm going to try to do here.
Whoops. That is already one running. If you press the two crosses on the console, then kill that one.
Oh, okay.
Or just open up in the browser.
Yeah. Okay. So if you run it, it's a web application that's ready to go.
Who's behind Rife? Are they open source?
It's an open source project, and it started in Belgium.
What's that?
It is a nice logo.
Yeah. Logo.
Oh yeah. I think it's Fire. That's what I've been trying to figure out. I think it's Fire.
Oh, right. Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
If you look for the company behind them, they're actually...
Yeah, the company behind it is called Uwin. Use what you need, I guess that's what it is.
Yeah.
And yeah, they're based in Belgium. The lead developer on this project is called Geert Bevan. Pretty helpful chap. You know, he answers questions around the clock. There's 2 a.m., whatever, sometimes in the mailing list. So when you run this application, this is how it looks right out of the box. And it's just simple configurations behind it. If we come back into the folder, I'll show you. What is actually happening is you are hitting this. You're hitting the main configuration file here, and this is set somewhere in the application. You can change it, but then by default it looks for a main XML file in the site structure. And what the main XML file says is that it has a subsite called pub.xml. That is somewhere in here, pub.xml, and then it has other things in there. These are all Rife specific tags that you have to get used to write these configuration files. And if we go into pub.xml,
Can I just note one thing? It's written in XML here, but one of the things that I've found out recently is that you don't actually have to define it in XML, because all these translate back into Java. So you can actually construct your site structure as a Java piece of code. And what was the other one? What was the new Java scripting language? Groovy.
Yeah, in Groovy, it actually supports Groovy, it supports Janino, all that.
So one of the things that you can do, because one of the aspects that people are looking into at the moment is whether or not you can actually change your site structure automatically. So not just a question of actually protecting URLs, but actually your users are creating their own subsites. So you can actually have an Nginx-based application that allows you to create a structure and then validate it. So the XML here, one of the key aspects of the jumpstart is simply the fact that you may want to create something very quickly. So that's why you introduce Jetty. It's the young target, and as you just package up your own bits without Jetty inside it as well.
Yeah, these are all parsed back into Java code, so you can create a site structure in Java. But I like going with the XML because then anybody else can take it and see the application flow. Mm-hmm. You know, that's very important for using if you're going to go with a framework like this. You want to be able to define things as you go, and then you don't have to compile all the time to run your application. Actually, you can put these on the class path, do changes and save them, and when you refresh, they are picked up. Rife has the capability to, I think it compiles as it goes. I'm not sure. I've not really gone into the code to see how that's done.
It does. It's got custom class data, and what it does is once it sees file changes, it'll compile it on the fly.
And then sort of merge that back into the application. So I can show you how that works. If I go back to the home HTML page, for instance, now this is what we have. And what Rife is actually doing is it's taking simple HTML files, and it's giving you the capability to add certain Rife-specific tags, which are just like comments in your normal HTML. So when I'm creating my applications, what I do is I just take a regular HTML file. I start out laying out the application as a regular HTML file. Then when I realize I see those bits that I want to make dynamic, I go in and then I change them with Rife-specific tags. And these are very simple tags, actually 3 of them for the normal templating. And then there's also template tags for creating forms and other HTML-specific stuff out there. So let's change this a bit. Let's put in and I'm changing this on our source path. And this source path is somewhere added to the class path of this application. If we go into the build file, we'll see that it's actually part of the class path. And so once we've done this, if we go back to this application, we don't have to compile anything and run it. It actually comes back in there. So you can develop your application as you go, and then see changes being made dynamically. You don't have to keep starting and then stopping the web server. There's one part of Rife that I actually love. I was actually going to show that on my laptop. Unfortunately, it went out on me. And that's doing out-of-container testing. It's one of the biggest things for me for using this framework. And what you can do is actually create actual web states and then test them. Right? You don't have to come to the UI to do that testing. You can actually, I use TestNG. It's a testing application now. That's testing framework. I think it's built on JUnit, but it's got other functionalities. I basically use it because that is what the implementers of Rife framework had used before, and I tried to learn from that. But I use TestNG and write simple tests based on XML files in Java, and then run them on the console. And you can actually create actual web states, test to see if probably the title you're expecting is there, test to see if values that you're sending are returning the results that you're actually expecting. Because Rife actually stores those different states that you get to once you're going from page flow to page flow. So you can actually put values in and then test them. And in this case, for instance, what we have here is a Rife value. If you look here, all we're doing is taking a block value here. That's what the BV is, and it's called content. and we're changing this in Rife. I don't know if this one has Java code to go with it. Let's see. See implementation.
It's near the top.
Yeah. So this is all the Java logic, the Java code that is actually giving us that page. It's taking, it's got Rife specific stuff here. It's extending something called an element, which basically stores the state of a current page that you have, and then you can manipulate this in whatever way you want. It's a basic Java object. You can do whatever you want with it, and then eventually spit this out back to the server by calling print on it.
Does that template map to the div layer that you just showed?
This here is the right way of getting to the template that we had. So app home maps back to hub and home here. And so you can have various other elements, and you don't, like I said, you don't have to follow this. You don't have to follow. You can have them in whatever structure you have. I create public and then admin and stuff like that. But you can have whatever structure you have here, and then they just map. It's just dot separated in your Java file. And so you can just go back to them and then pull those templates out. And once you pull them out, you can do various changes to, this is mapped to, let's see here, this is element, and then the implementation is com, the implementation is that. So that's how it maps back to that Java file. And so you could have this mapped to some other file, and then you just have to put the right path there. And then you can do those changes to it. And this one here, the way they tie together, I missed that, I'm just backtracking here, is that the home element here is mapped to the pub home XML file, and then the URL for that is home. And so you can define your URLs as you go as well. Hope this works. And so that maps back to that.
Okay. And this is running on Jetty, yes?
This is running on Jetty, yeah. So that is not known. And if I go back here, I hope it works.
There's something else. We've got home XML extracted to another file at the moment.
And that is mapped back. You know, so you can control this as you go, and you don't have to restart the server for this to recognize that you've done changes. Once Rife recognizes that you've done changes, of course, this is not good for. It's not good to put your source files once you go into production. But while you're developing, this is a useful feature because you can keep making changes and then testing them as you go.
The class that we talked about earlier on can be switched off, and when you actually do switch it off, that behavior disappears. I was just talking about the home XML. They're separated here because when you have a large web application, it makes sense to actually segregate your functionality. There's something that says you can't do what I've just done when I was messing about with my own web app, to put everything in the same file. I've just found that it becomes a bit tricky to manage.
Yeah, and there's there's a tag for that, for creating subsites, you know, and so you can put everything, like you were saying, you can put everything in one XML file. You can put all your page flow links in one XML file, but you also have the capability of extracting them, you know, that's, you know, based on the logic you're trying to create, and then create subsites that map back to those XML files. So there's so much that Rife is about. It comes, it has implementation it has an authentication layer that's already implemented. And so what I was doing 6 months ago when I was looking for Rife was I was trying to build something like High Five. I was just testing it out there. I wanted something that could handle authentication and all that already for me. And so those were good points. And all I had to do was take the Rife authentication toolkit that's already built and just add in the bits that would require usernames, etc. Those are actually already in there, but there are a few tricky things that I wanted to do, and Rife actually allowed me to do it. So it has that already. It has inversion control, which a lot of people talk about all the time. It's not fully implemented, but it pulls back from the Spring framework, I believe, and then.
I haven't used that bar before.
Yeah, I haven't actually gone into it, but it has that capability and it's still being developed. Another thing Geert is trying to move away from, if we go back to rushing this, right? Implementations. Okay. If we go back here, you see this bit. Okay, so with what we have currently, you have to actually extend some bits of Java code or framework. So which means you probably have to learn a little more about the framework before you can actually go ahead and then do what you want to do. What he's working on now is to cut this bit away. Is to find a way of actually automating some of this, so that you can just come in, start working on your business objects, on your business logic right away. Not have to deal with any extensions of framework classes.
The place I've seen it most used is for the persistence layer.
Okay.
What I use is you have your plain Java objects and you have your beans. And currently, if you want to persist them using the Rife persistence layer, you have to extend some of their own objects so that you have the kind of serialization that goes with it. That's not very nice when you've got a nice library of plain Java objects or beans that you really want to change.
Yeah.
So what is being done at the moment is actually adding that, maybe for some quite good engineering to actually make it. I think you were mentioning some JSF that actually provides proxy access.
No, that was.
no, that was me. That was
that had to do with.
Yeah, they're actually working with DWR guys on the same aspect of this, because it's nice to be able to provide you with a transparent way of just putting your beans into this and allow you to persist them without actually having to add any additional code to them. And the way that we do this is actually to provide you with a transparent layer that you put your beans in there, you say, this is something I want to persist.
So basically the way that PJV3 works.
It's probably going to be something more simplistic.
It's actually very simple along those lines. You create beans, and they have at a lower level. If you go into the code, they have what are called deployers. And so once you create your regular beans, create an employee bean, for instance, putting all it requires of you is to have an ID filled in there. That's an int, and then the rest of it can be persisted for you. And you basically have to say that this is the ID field, etc. There's logic in this very specific code that you have to call, and then it actually does all the underlining work for you. You don't have to go create a database or anything else. You just use a deployer classes, which are setting static methods to call, and then behind the scenes it creates those database objects for you and persists your data for you. And so it was more sort of the Ruby on Rails type of thing. People were actually talking about this a lot more about 6 months ago, and Rife was sort of the Java equivalent of doing Ruby on Rails development. For me, that was one of the things that actually got me into it. And once I started using it, it starts with you really simple. You actually start to see it after you spend 2 days on it. Once you actually feel like an expert in the framework after a few days on it. It's basic. It's still just basic Java. All the Java I have done is written console code or server-side specific stuff. I haven't actually done any web applications with Java, but this was really simple for me to move into. So give it a shot. Rife.org, and that is buried somewhere on the on the presentation that won't come out well. But on Rife.org, RIFERS.org, there's a live user guide that they had a user guide and I just converted it into a wiki. And so now anybody can just sign on and then add to it as you go. That's how I learn about this. I'm adding on the stuff that I learned, and then it reinforces it for me. And so there's a live user guide on that. There are tons and tons of implemented real world code that you can actually learn from on there. There are video tutorials that you can follow. There's one that I really like. It's called a simple blog. It allows you to create a blog in about 15 minutes, just full of video tutorial. And you use most of the power of the framework when you do it. You go through creating sites and creating subsites, adding in your own code, etc. It's all in there. So the user code. The mailing list is very active, very friendly. One of the things I really loved once I started using it, I go and say, oh, Git, I'm trying to get this, and it gets back to you in 2 hours. 2 a.m. and 3 a.m. is sending people emails. So that's very helpful to if you're new in using this framework. Our container testing, very big for me, very, very big. And once you start using it, you would realize you couldn't live without it. We created a web application with Flash and then Java. And for each logic that we added, because we were creating this for, it was a client sales system, and we had to do logins, we had to make sure that was always working. So we had to physically go to the UI, put in these, and then before we go back to backend and then test actually, small bits of code that we're adding. You can easily write a test with TestNG and do other container testing with Rife. See your results, if they're working or not. It's all in there for you. We had to rush this, but definitely give this a shot. And then come on the mailing list. Join up. We need more people in there to make it even more lively than it is now. And it's a very friendly place. You find me and Steph and Geert and all the other guys who have joined hands in trying to create this. So I would wrap it up here.
Who's waiting?
It didn't go as smooth as I wanted to, but if anyone has any questions, I'll take them. Otherwise, I'll cut you on the mailing list.
All right, thanks very much, Emmanuel. That was well done. All right, it's time to adjourn to the pub and some food. All right. Yeah.
How did you find it in the first place?
Like I was saying, on the server side, I read that